I want to welcome you all this evening to the Northeast Ohio chapter of PMI. We have an excellent webinar planned for you this evening. The topic is risk management for projects and programs. We have Keith Wilson here, senior consultant and trainer and coach. This is also in part partnership between our PMI chapter and the International Institute of Learning. So thank you, Keith, for joining us and presenting this evening. I got a few slides and I'm going to turn it right over to you. Maybe. Okay. We have a few chapter sponsors. Apex Systems. We are actually signing up some new ones we're excited to share with you pretty soon. But Apex has been a chapter sponsor, and Acotis, Baldwin Wallace, Lincoln Electric, and Parker have been event sponsors where they've provided a facility, room or whatever for past in-person meetings. So as a chapter, we do in-person and virtual meetings like this. So appreciate all the sponsors. We also have content providers, IIL, as I mentioned. Keith is here on behalf of IIL. We have Velociteach and Peak Business. I have some new, fresh information from both organizations that we'll be posting on our website pretty soon. Both of those organizations offer certification training for the PMP, ACP, and other certs. So if you are pursuing a certification, I encourage you to give them a try. We have Project Bytes, who provides bite-sized content and videos. And with your PMI membership, you have access to projectmanagement.com. So as a PMI member, you also have access to projectmanagement.com. Please post any questions you have in the chat. We'll be monitoring the chat. And Keith, if, at any point, if you want us to tell you what's in the chat room or want us to ask you any questions, just let us know. We'll let you free form how you like.
Yeah, I've got chat open as well, so people can ask me questions and answer my questions via chat. So I'll just monitor it.
Excellent. Thank you. All right. So Keith is a senior consultant, trainer, and coach with over 25 years of successful management and consulting experience. He's a leader in Agile training, coach, and transition to Agile, and well known for his public speaking skills. Been a welcome facilitator of numerous Fortune 500 companies, universities, associations. That is his LinkedIn link, and you will all get a copy of this slide deck and the video, so you can contact Keith through LinkedIn if you like. Without further ado, whoops, I'm going to turn it over. I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to turn it over to you, Keith. And
okay,
please let me know when you want those polls to fire up.
Okay, just a second, and we'll click a couple of buttons to share my screen. There we go. Okay, well, welcome everybody. Hey, thanks for allowing me to present to your PMI chapter. I've done this with a variety of chapters all over North America. So I'm excited to present risk management for projects and programs. And I've also thrown a little bit about risk management for Agile Scrum teams as well. So we've already had a chance to introduce myself, but I'm not only a PMP, I'm a PMP instructor, and I'm a disciplined Agile instructor, coach, and senior consultant, but I do specialize in Agile, and I'm not only a certified Scrum Master, certified Scrum product owner, I'm also a safe practice consultant and a Kanban management professional. And I'm broadcasting live from Venice, Florida, where I've lived for the last 15 years, but you'll probably say, that guy doesn't sound like a Southerner. Well, no, I'm not. I'm born and raised in one of the coldest nations capital in the world, Ottawa, Ontario, Canada, and typical of a young Canadian, I grew up with a hockey stick in my hand. I wanted to play pro in the National Hockey League. I did get a little close, but I didn't make it. Maybe it was lack of speed or lack of size, or let's be honest, lack of talent. So I went back to school to become a consultant instead, but still very passionate about it. And the Bolts, Tampa Lightning Bolts up the road by about an hour is my favorite team. All right, so what are we going to cover in this webinar? Well, we've just done our getting started, but we're also going to talk about the risk management process and planning. remember, we all know that fitting the plan is planning to fail. We've talked about this project management plan. One of the subsidiary plans is how are we going to manage risks? And then risk identification. We want to proactively identify the risk up front. The Standish Group said that 90% of project risks were foreseeable and thus preventable. Then we're going to figure out how do we assess them. Those familiar with the Project Management Institute process group of practice guide knows there's two processes on assessment, quantitative and qualitative. We're going to really focus on the qualitative. Very few of my clients do quantitative. But it's not good enough just to have a bunch of risk. We've got to figure out what are we going to do about it. That's our risk response and monitoring and controlling. Then, as mentioned, I'm going to talk about how we do risk management on an agile Scrum team. Is there a risk management plan? No. Is there a risk register? No. But I'm going to argue that on a Scrum team, they pay more attention to risk than in a traditional project. And then we'll look at some pitfalls and end things up. So you can chat with me at any time. I've got chat open, and I'm going to also ask you all a bunch of questions. And so hopefully you can provide the answers in chat as well. Let's leave the microphones muted. And at the end, I'll open it up for some Q&A, not just via chat, but verbally as well. So hopefully that sounds like a good game plan. We got our Kanban board here. So let's start sliding stuff to the done column. Well, here's the first thing. What's your experience with risk management? And if you wouldn't mind firing up the poll, we got a little poll here that that has got these 4 answers in it. Heard of it? Taking a class on it? And all you got to do is, I think you can see the poll now, and just click on the answers. Heard of it? Taking a class, or PMP, and you've used it.
See people voting.
People are voting. Good. Since I'm not the host, I can't see that. And how many people do we have voted at this point?
All right, so we have 17 people in the call tonight. So far, we have 9 people that voted. 10.
Okay, well, we're into the double digits. So why don't you just share the results? You can end the poll and share the results.
You know what? Both questions showed up for folks.
Bummer. Okay, so
We'll have to redo it.
Yeah, I think the gentleman put them both into one poll instead of 2, so it's not going to work. But can you just tell me which one was the? There we go. There's the dominant one. Okay, so we got. I'm preaching to the choir. We've got a lot of people here that are PMPs, and you know what? It is, of course, a knowledge area. It's also a constraint. But I'm surprised at the amount of project managers I've met that don't do risk assessment. So of course, I've asked the question why. Reason 1, don't know how to do it. Another reason is I've been exposed to a technique, quantitative, qualitative assessment, regression analysis, Monte Carlo simulations. Forget about it. It's too hard. Another reason is the scope of project management is this big and I had this much time. Something had to fall by the wayside, despite the lack of risk planning being in the top 5 reasons why projects fail. It's often what gets skipped. And another reason why project managers are not doing it, I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be the Debbie Downer. Everybody's so excited about this project, and I don't want to be the person who raises my hand and say, wait a minute, have we thought about organizational change management? Have we thought about potential risk of resources and with our vendors as well? So it's really important that we proactively identify risks. By the way, I'm also a Franklin Covey certified facilitator. You may know Franklin Covey is the 7 habits, folks. Habit number 1 is be proactive. Proactively identify the risks before they turn into issues and nightmares. Okay. Hey, why don't you let me know who you are? I think most of you are in the Ohio area, but just let me know what's your job title. Are you a project manager, a program manager, an analyst? And if you just type that in chat, that'd be great. Okay, 1 program manager, operations manager, project manager. And isn't this project management job exciting, right? I like it. Temporary endeavor. Once it gets boring, you know what? We're on to a new one. And you're continually changing gears, talking to different stakeholders. PMO manager. Oh, okay. Well, good luck on that PMP exam. It is challenging, but 42% of the questions now are on the people side. So if you got some people management experience, that'll work out well. Okay, and a control specialist, great. Well, let's move into the risk management process. So what is a risk? It's an event that has an uncertainty and it may affect our project objectives positively or negatively. So I'm looking outside right now and saying it might rain. That's a risk. It is raining. That's an issue. But isn't it odd? Risk can be positive. It's like an oxymoron, like a jumbo shrimp, but they can be. And to give you an example of a positive risk, I designed a very detailed, traditional, and agile program for a high-tech distribution company. And we spent a lot of time developing this program. And I said, here's what I think is the risk. Nobody's going to sign up. Well, to quote my client, he said, this is selling out faster than a Taylor Swift concert. So a positive or an opportunity came up that people were very interested in taking it. Now, nice compliment, but I've got to admit, I'm not a Taylor Swift fan. I'm a Springsteen fan. I think she's on the opposite spectrum of Springsteen. And I've said to my American friends, what if Canada traded you, Celine Dion, Anne Murray, and Justin Bieber for one Springsteen? No, that's not a fair trade, right? Okay, so risk can be positive or negative. So why are there risks? Complexity, environmental change, anything you assume, access to people, access to system, there's a risk that's not going to be in place. Okay, so before we jump into risk too much, let's go ahead and do our uncertainty. You know what? This is going to be a challenge to do in the poll because of the having two polls in one. So just let's use chat. Risk. What's the answer? A, B, C, D, or E? Which one is a definition of risk? And you can just type the appropriate letter in chat, and that's going to be better than the poll at this point. There we go. We're getting a lot of the right answers popping up. An uncertain event or condition that, if it occurs, has a positive or negative effect on one or more of the project objectives. All right, so that is in fact D. Risk management plan. Which letter describes the risk management plan or defines the risk management plan? Okay, we're getting lots of the right answers here again, which of course is B. It's part of that big old project management plan. And we know that risk management is not only a constraint, it is a knowledge area. And we know we need a plan for how we're going to manage risk. It's not the risk register, but it's the plan for how we're going to identify and manage risk. And that gets inserted into the project management plan. All right, which letter now corresponds to the risk appetite? Right. The uncertainty an organization or individual is willing to accept. So they can go down to risk adverse, risk seeking, and risk neutral. Not only is it on a corporate level or industry level, it's also on an individual level. Some of us are risk takers. I'm a risk taker. I've been an entrepreneur most of my life, and I've skied down double diamond black runs and raced motocross bikes and scuba dived. But I married a woman who's risk adverse. Hey, pretty good balance. You know, I said, well, I'm going to put this wobbly lemon ladder on the back of the pickup, go stand up on it and chop these limbs. No, she says, you're not going to be doing that. All right. What's a risk trigger? An event or situation that indicates a risk is going to occur. So here in the summer in Florida, it rains pretty well every day, usually between 3 and 6 o'clock, and it's very heavy. But I've been living here for 15 years now. We know the triggers. You smell the moisture in the air. You feel the wind come up a little bit. And then if you're on the beach, you go, okay, time to leave. The tourists are looking at us. Why are all these birdies just going to pack it up? It's still nice and sunny. By the time you put your final beach chair in the trunk, it's pouring. All right, so triggers and risk identification. Which one aligns to that? Right. Identifying individual risk. Now, there is a key word that we need to put between risk and identification, and it's going to make or break the quality of your overall risk assessment. That word is specific. We might lose a resource. Can't help you. Is it the DBA, the Java programmer, the project manager, the BA? Can't help you. Our Oracle DBA is on 2 other high priority projects, and he might not be available to do the work we require. Boom, I can help you. Might have a vendor problem. Which one? We got 100 vendors. Vendor X providing us with product Y is having supply chain difficulties and might not be able to meet our requirements. We can help you. Charles Kettering, a famous US inventor, said, a problem well stated is a problem half solved. A risk well stated is a risk half solved. Generic risk, not enough time, not enough money, not enough resources. Don't even write them down. They're not worth a thing. All right, you got number 6. What's the definition of number 6 of residual risk? Risk that remains after the risk response has been implemented. So we're planning a picnic for our top 100 customers. Risk is it might rain. We put up a tent, but that tent leaks. That's a residual risk. Okay, nice job on doing that, folks. Let's go ahead and clear the annotations and then move forward. So why do we care about this? Increase the probability of good things happening and decrease the probability of negative events. It's that simple. And if we don't do this, we're going to walk in every day, issue. We're going to be putting out fires, not working on the scope. Okay, poof, that was an exhausting day, but we accomplished nothing towards the project scope. We walk in the next day, issue. Those issues are risks that weren't properly identified and properly managed. Now we're spending our time putting out fires. If we're spending our time doing that and we're not working on the scope, there's no way in heck we're going to be on time or in budget. Okay, so it does take some time to do, but we're investing in this project and program, and we need to invest in the time to do it right. To achieve our goals means being aware of the barriers or the risks to achieving those goals. To give early warnings that, hey, looks like we've got a problem here. It's starting. Looks like it might start to rain. We better get off the beach. And mitigate and avoid loss, and overall reduce the stress. Because if we walk in and every day is a challenge and a nightmare and putting out fires, it's a stressful environment. People are going to be going to work wishing their car was in reverse. Okay, and does ignoring your credit cards, bills, make them go away? No, trust me, I tried. Ignoring risk doesn't make them go away either. Okay, so exposure areas are, of course, around the deliverables. When we're integrating things, if we haven't thoroughly thought about the resources, be them human resources or material resources, that's a big area of risk in the nature of my work. Can I connect to the projector? I was at a client site just the other day, and sure, they had an LCD projector straight from the 1990s with one of these VGA cords. I go, can do HDMI, I can do USB-C. Can't do this. No check or sign off, and we leave integration to the end and it blows up. We need to continually integrate. And the number one area is around the product or around the deliverables, not well defined. Better, faster, prettier, effective, efficient, portable, scalable, and the hard one or the main one, user friendly. What the blank does it mean? It means something different to each and every one of us. Okay, so let's say you're in a scenario, you're doing a project, you've got the charter done, you've maybe created the work breakdown structure, but now your sponsor, your boss comes in your office and says, wait, before you leave, I want a risk plan and assessment on my desk. What would be the first thing you would do? And it's not crime, to quote Tom Hanks, There's no crying in baseball, and there's no crying in project management either. By the way, bonus point if you know what movie I quoted from. Okay, I'm not seeing in chat the first step, nor am I seeing the movie. Movie, A League of Their Own. Got it. All right. The first thing you would do, all right, my fellow PMPs, you know this. Risk is a knowledge area. That's the second one. What is one of the first things we do with pretty well all knowledge areas except for stakeholders? We identify stakeholders first. It starts with a P. It's a four-letter word, but it's not profanity. What's the first thing we do? For all knowledge areas, the very first process. Four-letter words starting with a P, fundamental component of project management. Thank you. Got it. All right. That was like pulling teeth to get that one, folks. Plan it. So we do a plan. The governance impacts it, and then we develop a risk management plan. Then we identify, we do our assessment, figure out what we're going to do about it. So let's look at risk planning. People overcomplicate this stuff. Now, I believe it should be in writing. There's a saying in project management that's what's not written has not been said. So it should be in writing and it should be inserted in your project management plan. But it's not the great American novel. It's simply the 5 W's plus how. Who's going to help me identify risk? When is our initial risk register due? When are reports due from that? What type of reports are due? How are we going to identify risks? And why are we doing this? And if you can't articulate the why, good luck in getting people to help you with it. So all good plans, and this is just one of them, answer the 5 W's plus how. Plus, with this, we have to attain our degree of tolerance. Don't forget, the governance is overarching on these risk management processes, and they may dictate certain ways in which you have to create the plan, identify risk, and assess them. All right. So program risks, too many projects, and we don't know who's doing what. I'm actually just submitted a proposal. It's exactly the situation they've got. Too many things going on. Nobody has a good handle of what's happening. Insufficient resources, and then fuzzy decision criteria or ineffective stages and gates. So the project manager, you've got to be the person who is proactively saying, hey, folks, we need to identify risks. When they say lack of resources, you say useless risk. We need specific risk, and be the person who keeps that risk register up to date. It's up to date throughout the life cycle of the project. Let me give you an example. We were 98% done a project and a risk came in. So we had Hurricane Milton hit us and we had to replace our lanai. That means a screened in room. Pretty well everybody here had to do that. So we got it. I hadn't worked a lot with aluminum screen and cobblestone, but we figured it out. So we put the new screen in. The last thing to do was just trim the excess screen. So I couldn't find my X-Acto knife with a short blade. So instead, I grabbed a filleting knife with a long blade. It's going great, cutting the excess screen. I wasn't aware that the tip of my knife was cutting the good screen. That was a risk I wasn't aware of because I hadn't done this work before. And yes, I ruined all the good screen that my wife and I put up. So we had to drive all the way to Tampa to get some new screen because it's all sold out here. Get some new screen, put it in. I say to my wife, I'm going to get the filleting knife this time. She looked at me. No way are you going anywhere near the screen with the knife. And she cut it herself. Okay, so you want to be able to assess the attitude, determine our tolerance, get a risk profile put together as key planning activities. So here's the level of risk: seeking, tolerant, or neutral. Can you name a company or industry that you would say is risk seeking? And it's, we've seen SpaceX, exactly what I was thinking. Thank you. SpaceX, high-tech companies are primarily that risk seeking. Give me the opposite. What's an industry or a company that is the risk adverse? Healthcare, good answer. And water department. I didn't think of that one. That's a good answer too. Yeah, medical and anything that could kill you because you're being transported in it or you're ingesting in it. Every second ad here in Florida is a lawyer trying to do a class action suit. Have you got, and list these horrible things you could have? Call 1-800-BAD-DRUG. So yeah, pharmaceutical companies are very risk adverse. I'm in the consulting business, and yes, we try new things. Yes, I gravitated towards agile, but I'm going to say overall risk neutral. So risks are one of those constraints that we face with every single project. So if we do a bad job on identifying the risks, we're putting out fires, we're not working on our scope, and we're not going to be on time as well. So we want to really be cognizant that risks are a constraint that we need to monitor, just like we monitor cost and schedule variance as well. So one thing I like to do is do a risk profile. So how are we with respect to our risks? Complexity with scope, low, medium, high, technical complexity, estimate accuracy, resources and dependencies. Are there a lot of resources, a lot of dependencies? How sound is the business case? How committed are our sponsors to this? And what's the organizational impact? By looking at this, you'll get a overall risk profile. Notice we're multiplying the low by 1, the medium by 3, and the high by 5. So this score now adds up to 21. So what does that mean? It means a moderate risk profile. So what does that mean? Well, basically, based on our risk profile and our risk tolerance, if we're moderate and we're risk adverse, probably do an enhanced risk management plan, like a lot more detail involved in it. If we're moderate but seeking, basic risk registry probably be okay. So it's a really kind of a cool approach to do a risk profile and then to determine the level of risk management plan that's required. Okay, so the next are identifying risk. Hey, what was that word that started with an S that I said is mandatory to put between risk and identification to get quality risk management done? Identify blank risks, starting with it specific. That's exactly what we're looking for. Loss of resource, I can't help you. We've got 10, 20 different kinds of resources. Loss of the Oracle DBA because he or she's on 2 other projects, I can help you. We can get a contract DBA. We can talk to the other project managers. We can get a backup for that person. So generic risk, potential threats to all projects, but specific risks identified by those who understand the project, understand specific things that could happen. Well, today I realized there could be a risk I don't have the URL. Nope, I didn't have it. So we made a few phone calls. I got that by 4 o'clock. Another risk is I can't access the URL. So I logged in at 5 o'clock, and then one gentleman was here about 22, and we verified that everything works. Okay, so risk identification. What have you done in the past to identify risks? What tools, techniques, methods have you employed? You got a blank risk register. What have you done to fill that risk register up with specific risks? Interviews and experience, right? That certainly does count for a lot. Next time I have to cut screen, I'm not going to use a filleting knife. Okay, what else have you accessed or done to figure out risks? Here's a little checklist. Document review. Review the similar project or review the SOWs, the contracts, right? Review items like that. Brainstorm. You can't know all the risks. So brainstorm with your team members and let them know it's psychologically safe environment. Nobody's going to say, oh, you big dummy, you should never think about that as a risk. Brainstorm, no wrong answers. Interviewing, it's expensive though. Root cause. So do a fishbone diagram, do a 5 whys to identify potential root causes. Now, a SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. By the way, opportunities and threats are risks, positive and negative risks. Checklist. Pilots have a checklist, right? Flights work, flaps work, and thank goodness they do, because let's find a problem on the ground, not 30,000 feet in the air. I have to have a checklist when I travel. Have you ever traveled and forgot your mouse, forgot your power cord, forgot something? Yeah, so I did a lot. So now I have a checklist. You know what I had to add to my checklist? Pants. So I'm driving to the Space Coast from the opposite side of Florida. I had dinner and driving there. It's getting close to 9 o'clock. So I'm getting close to the hotel thinking, okay, I'm going to check in the hotel. Then I'm going to iron my suit, start thinking about my suit. I don't have pants. Now it's hot here in Florida. I wear shorts most of the time. Going to a client site in shorts, it's not in the cool category. So checklist, do I have my pants? And anything you assume. So I assumed I had access to a facility. I flew all the way to Sasebo, Japan to work with the US Navy, figuring they'd have a pass for me to get on the site. So they did, but they assumed I'm an American. Well, I got a green card, I'm legal, but dropped my Canadian passport. They go, what do we do with this foreign guy? I don't know. Should we wake up the XO? No, we shouldn't. What should we do? Put him in a holding cell till the morning. 31 hours of travel, faced by 4 hours in a holding cell. Oof. I'm very sensitive about assumptions. Diagramming techniques, cause and effect diagrams, flow charts, all can work. So you've now identified specific risks. Now we need to determine the qualitative impact. So there's a lot of different scales, but I like this one. Now, one is a minor speed bump. Don't worry about it. Although I got to admit, speed bumps are a pet peeve of mine. We live in a community called Venice Acres, where everybody's got at least an acre. To get to our property in the back, you have to go over 3 speed bumps. So I'm driving my Mustang GT behind a guy who's got a Florida swamp truck. Have you seen these? They're like jacked up trucks meant to go through swamps. He gets to the speed bump, stops inches over it. Oh my gosh, he's got a truck built to go over that stuff. So we drive another 500 yards or so, does the same thing. So I go around him in my Mustang, give him the one finger wave, and keep going. Now, I got to remember I live in Florida. It's slower here. I still got my northern mentality, but I'm not on vacation and I'm not retired. A lot of people are, and they move a little slower than I would like. 5 is game over. Sorry, we're no longer funding this project. Done. Now, you remember these constraints, aka prioritized performance factors? Some are more flexible than the others. So you take, say, a wedding project. Invitations have gone out. Schedule's not flexible. Something comes up that we got to move the date. That's a big deal. That's a 4. You take a regulatory project. Scope is not flexible. You're going to only do 5 of the 10 things. That's a 4. But with a regulatory project, the cost and resources, the regulatory agency doesn't care. They have to be added or changed. That's a 2. And then notice my probability scale. Anybody know why I dropped off the 1 to 9? Don't sweat the small stuff. Somebody says you might get a snowstorm in Venice, Florida. Let's not worry about that. And the 91 to 100, it's so close to being an issue, treat it like it's going to happen. Somebody says it might rain in Seattle. Yep, it's going to rain. Okay, so now let's look at our risk response. So it's not good enough just to have the risk identified. We need to tame the risks. We need to have a response. And so the responses I've broken down into this acronym TAMES. So the first one starts with letter T. Let's take our simple example, planning the picnic, and we say to the caterer, you have to set up a tent in the event it rains. We've done what? We've passed it to them, or what keyword am I looking for? It's the same thing why you buy insurance. Your house burns down, it's a sad situation, but you've passed the financial responsibility to the insurance company. You've transferred it. Good. Your sponsor comes by and says, sorry, this project's canceled. Done. We just have to do what? That starts with an A. The tariffs, like them or don't like them, we just have to do what that starts with an A? Accept them, right? Now, this vendor always messes up. Short shipment, late shipment. So we're not going to use the vendor anymore. We're going to end run them. We're going to do what that starts with an A? Avoid. There we go. So there's our accept and avoid. I'll bet you know the M without even a hint. It means I'm going to reduce the probability, right, and impact mitigate. Now, these E's primarily pertain to positive risks. I believe it was Andy Warhol that said people blank their 15 minutes of fame. You know what that E word is? Exploit. I don't think a lot of people earn it, but yeah, they exploit it. Hey, you know what? You ran 2 Facebook ads, A and B. A got 1,000 hits, B got 10. You want to run a lot more, and it's going great. You got to tell the people upstairs. What E word am I looking for? Not elevator, but I want to moving stairs. Tell the people upstairs. What E word am I looking for? Uh, moving stairs, escalate. There we go. So exploit, enhance, escalate. And the caterer says, no way in heck am I going to pay for the tent, but I'll share the cost with you. All right. So then don't forget to watch those triggers. And I believe in proactively reporting your risk assessment. Add up all your probabilities at impact. And let's say our total score was 180. Indicate, has that score gone up because the probabilities increased, or I've identified new risk? Has it gone down because the probability is decreased, or I finished that phase and all the risks were zeroed out? Also, watch the triggers and report if these things are look like they're going to turn into issues. We also need to monitor them. So I believe in reporting that risk score, and I believe in updating your risk register frequently. Keep it as a living document. Also, though, when we're monitoring risk, we want to look for 2 things. One of them is the residual risks that we talked about before, and the other are secondary risks. So what do we mean by those 2 things? Residual risk, it is an initial risk and it's expected to remain after the risk response. Okay, so it's like we didn't quite eliminate all the risk. Back to our simple example with a tent. We have a tent in the event it's going to rain during our picnic, but darn it if the tent's not a little leaky. A secondary risk is a result of whatever risk plan you put in place. Okay, let me expand upon this picnic example. It's not actually a fictitious example. I helped a company gain some venture capital for a Linux play they were doing. We went to celebrate at my shack. Now, I didn't have a house at that point. It was just a shack. But things were going great. Sunny day, beer flowing, things are going great. No problem at all. Then it didn't start to rain. It started to pour. The shack could only accommodate about 6 people. The rest went into a tent. But the tent was a screened-in tent. So there were residual risks. They're still getting wet because rain's coming through the screen. There was also a secondary risk. The tent roof started catching rain like buckets. It got heavier, heavier, and heavier, and then imploded on all the people. So true story, actually, with residual and secondary risks. Okay, so we've now been primarily focused on traditional project management. We also do risks on agile projects, particularly with Scrum being the dominant risk method. Agile is not a method. Agile is an approach and a philosophy. Scrum is a method that's dominant because it's pretty simple. So let me show you how a Scrum team, despite not having a risk management plan and despite not having a risk register, manages risks. So here's what a Scrum looks like on a page. My understanding of why it became so dominant is it's dirt simple. There's not 49 processes, each with input, tool, technique, and output. There are 3 roles: the product manager, the voice of the customer, the servant leader, scrum master, who coaches, facilitates events, and helps remove impediments. The cross-functional, self-organized development team, a maximum of 10 of these people, a maximum of 12 on a team. Okay, there's only 3 artifacts. The product backlog, which represents all of the work our team is going to do. It's dynamic, new stuff coming in, and then stuff getting moved based on our velocity. We take on only the amount of work we can handle and put that in our sprint backlog. At the end, we've completed it. We've got an MVP, minimal viable product, and each item has met our definition of done. 3 artifacts, 5 events. Now, some agile coaches are going to call these ceremonies. I'm not a formal kind of guy. And when I hear ceremony, I think wedding, graduation. This is not supposed to be formal like that. So I prefer the word events. I'm a safe practice consultant. Safe calls them events. But let's not kid ourselves. Whether you want to call them ceremonies or events, they look like and they smell like a meeting. These are meetings. A backlog refinement once a week. Purpose is to get ready for sprint planning. Sprint planning, it's all the items that we're going to put in our sprint backlog now have met our definition of ready. They are good to go. And we now have a goal for this sprint as well. Daily stand-up. Each person shares 3 things. Hey, anybody know what are the 3 things each person shares in a daily stand-up, aka a daily scrum? 3 things each person stands up and shares. Issues or what's blocking me is 1, what I've done and what there we go, done, will do, and blockers. Now, we know that blockers are issues. This is blocking me. I can't move forward until I obtain this information or this data or whatever. But we also talk about risks. What could be blocking me? So every day, we are talking about risks. Here's what I did. Here's what I plan to do. Here's what's blocking me, an issue. Here's what could be blocking me, a risk. Okay, then we do a sprint review, and hopefully every item that we're showing meets our definition of done, which includes the acceptance criteria was met, and we've now are ready to accept that item. All right, then we do a retrospective. Hey, what worked and what didn't work? Now that we've kind of looked at these 5 events, let's talk about how risk management ties into this. Well, we do have this dynamic backlog with new stuff coming in, but we have a risk that stuff is going to come into our backlog that isn't at all related. So we've got a gatekeeper, and this person says, I want you to do and add this new item to your backlog. Great. The product owner says, does that align with our overall strategy and vision? No, sorry, it's not going in the backlog. Does it align to a release we planned on our Epic? It does, and it does align to the vision. Excellent. Your item can now come into our backlog. Okay, we have a risk that we get into planning and we've got GIGO, or garbage in, garbage out. We have a bunch of unanswered questions. We don't know if dependencies have been satisfied. We don't know if we have the materials. So how do we deal with that risk of not being ready for sprint planning? We deal with it by having a backlog refinement. We have it about 1 hour once a week, giving us the opportunity to find out where those dependencies solve. Did we obtain these materials? Are we actually going to be ready to work on those items? Yes. All right. So now we go into sprint planning. It's not GIGO, garbage in, garbage out. It's GIGO, good stuff in, good stuff out. So we run the risk that we don't really understand what we're building. How do we deal with that? In sprint planning, the facilitator scrum master is going to ask questions. Okay, the product owners explain the story. Everybody's sitting there like a bump of the lug. Scrum master go, hey, Bob and on. Yeah, what? Please explain what you'll be demonstrating in 2 short weeks from now with respect to that story. So the risk that these guys don't understand it is mitigated by getting feedback on their understanding. Also mitigated by measurable acceptance criteria. So here's an example right here. This is a Yeti cooler, and I put my Coke Zero in it. So measurable acceptance criteria, it opens up, it holds a regular sized Coke can, and it keeps it cold for up to 6 hours. So the measurable acceptance criteria that we have developed in planning runs the risk that we built the wrong, or deals with the risk that we built the wrong stuff. And as I mentioned in the daily stand up or the daily scrum, everybody's sharing what they did, going to do, blocking them an issue, could be blocking them a risk. We do our sprint review, and the product owner has got this definition of done. And by the way, if you didn't do these tests, you're not done. You didn't do these processes, you're not done. You didn't meet the acceptance criteria, you're not done. You didn't do the documentation, you're not done. So that checklist prevents us releasing stuff that wasn't ready for prime time. Now, in the retrospective, we go, okay, guys, we did bump into some issues. Yeah, we sure did. We don't want to bump into them again. Let's think about what we can do to improve. And let's put the action items to improve right here in the backlog. Wow, that's a lot of focus on risks. Okay, so moving down. So there is just explaining the sprint planning session where we made sure each item met our definition ready, and we had our iteration backlog review to make sure the items that we're going to work on, we had all the required information. The daily stand-up, it's only 15 minutes, and not only are we talking about what we did, going to do, and blocking us or could be blocking us, I cannot think of anything that holds people more accountable than a daily stand-up. So we've all gone around, we get to Bob. Bob's not saying anything. Scrum Master goes, Bob, goes, what? What'd you do? When? Yesterday. Oh, yesterday? Nothing. Okay, well, Bob, what do you plan to do today? Today? Not much. Bob, there's got to be something blocking you. What's blocking you? I don't know. Strike 3. So the risk of having a weak team member that's not contributing, that's eliminated, because who the heck wants to be Bob standing up in front of your peers? I did nothing. I planned to do nothing. And I don't even know what's blocking me. Nobody wants to be that person. All right. So there are some potential pitfalls that we could encounter. For example, I don't know how to do it. It's complicated. And I had to cut something out. And as I mentioned, I don't want to be that person. It's not a psychologically safe environment. And I know if I mention potential risks, they're going to, oh, you big dummy, you shouldn't think about those as potential risks. You know, why aren't you enthusiastic about this project? So what we want to do is use the appropriate tools. The risk process well-defined and keep the risk registry alive. Have your risk management plan as part of your project management plan. Make sure you've thought about the categories of risk. That's a risk breakdown structure. They could be internal, external, regulatory compliance, project management, and you've thought about that. Do a financial assessment, because if we are going to put in risk responses like having a tent, we've got to have the money to get that tent. It's just like when I take the boat out. There are life jackets for everybody. There's a non-expired fire extinguisher, a whistle, and a bailing bucket on there. Those things did cost some money. But by the way, if you don't have those things, Coast Guard, the Fish and Wildlife guys are going to stop you and give you a ticket. So I want to avoid that ticket. Inadequate strategy. So we didn't even think about a really good strategy, and now it rains and we've got everybody wet, cold, and miserable. And we didn't monitor it. We said, oh my gosh, I know we had to do it. We did it. Thank gosh, that's over. File that risk stuff away. We don't have to think about it again. All right. So that's what we wanted to share with y'all. So feel free to ask questions. You can unmute at this time. or you can ask questions in chat that we've had open the whole time. I'm going to go ahead here and drop my LinkedIn URL right here. I do a lot of postings on LinkedIn, so hopefully you can connect with me on there. I put up videos and white papers. I'm a frequent speaker, not only at PMI events, but often a keynote speaker at places. So I often indicate where they are. And notice the name is Keith Eric Wilson. There were lots of Keith Wilsons up there, so I put my middle name, and notice it's Scandinavian spelling with a K, not a C like it is here in the US. So connect with me on there, and we can still be each other's networks. And if you're in the greater Sarasota County, let me know. We could meet somewhere for a cold beer too. All right, I don't see any questions. So we can let you go at this point, or I can pass it back to your chapter executives.
Hi, Keith. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. All right, I'm going to appreciate your presentation tonight. It was very good. Thank you. Replace current share. All right. So thanks again, Keith.
You're welcome.
Some closing remarks here. So we have our chapter was formed in 1990. We are 35 years old this year. We have a great event coming up to celebrate on Thursday, September 25th. Love to have you there. If you want to join us, it's going to be a casino night. There'll be great food, cash bar, games. You can earn tickets to win a raffle prize. So no cash gambling. It'll be funny money, but there will be a cash bar, but we'll provide food and beverages. Please go to our website, PMINEO.org, to register. Love to have you there. And you can bring your colleagues. All right, I'll leave this up on the screen for a minute. So this is for those of you with a PMI certification, PMP, CAPM, etc. This is the PDU claim code for this event. You can report it as one PDU for Power Skills. I'm going to check the chat room real quick to see if there's anything. Oh, thank you. That's good.
Joe, can I get a second?
Please.
Hi, folks. I'm Andy Macy. I'm on the board of directors, but I am also heading up the mentoring program that we're starting up for the chapter. And I just wanted to make a call out for any experienced project managers interested in being a mentor. We are definitely looking for some more experienced folks to step in and be mentors for some of the newer folks joining the industry. So if you would like to be a mentor, or if you're interested in obtaining a mentor or being a mentee, please send an email to mentoring@pmineo.com, or I'm sorry, pmonei.org. Sorry, I keep doing that, Joe. But and we would love to hear from you. And again, we're looking at adding mentors so that we can assign you to mentees. So if you have any questions, you can speak up, or I'll stay on here after the session if you have questions, or you can send an email to mentoring@pmineo.org. Thank you.
Thank you, Andy. That's a good call out. All right.
And yes, the presentation will be made available. I see that question in chat.
Oh, great, thanks. Yeah, Keith, either you or I or through Michael we'll get the presentation from you, and I'll send it out to the members here.
Yeah.
The participants here. Thank you. We also have some other really cool events coming up. So we have on July 22nd, we have another webinar. It's a noon webinar. On August 15th. 14th, we have the Guardians game. We wish the Guardians were doing better. At least they broke their losing game slump, but we do only have a few seats available for that Guardians game. So if you want to hang out with us and watch the Guardians hopefully win, please register for that event. August 23rd, we have a Saturday. It's our summer picnic where we acknowledge and recognize our volunteers. However, we would love to have members, non-members join us too. That event is also on the website, and you can register August 23rd. We have in September, I mentioned the 35th anniversary. We're very likely to have a golf outing on September 12th. It's not on the website yet. We're still finalizing plans for that. And of course, we have events going throughout the rest of this year. So please go to our website, join us on social media. We're on LinkedIn, Twitter, X, rather, Instagram, to keep up with us. There's other ways to earn PDUs. There's podcasts, PMIs, Projectified,